Ever wonder what actually goes down once you hit 80? I mean, really wonder? Not the scary stuff people whisper about, but the real deal. What truly changes when you reach this incredible milestone? Here's the thing. Turning 80 is like nothing else you've experienced before. And honestly, no matter how much you think you're ready for it, some things are just gonna happen. Everyone who makes it to this age goes through them. But, and this is important, these changes aren't just about stuff getting worse. They're not something to be terrified of. Think of them more like transitions, natural ones, the kind that can actually open doors to a richer, more meaningful chapter of your life. When you turn 80, 5 major changes kick in, whether you're ready or not. Some might worry you a little, others, they'll surprise the heck out of you. And one of them, I'm telling you, feels absolutely liberating. The cool part is, when you know what's coming, you can actually welcome these changes instead of fighting them tooth and nail. And that makes your 80s not just easier, but honestly, way more fulfilling. Getting older isn't just about losing stuff. It's about gaining perspectives that only time, real lived time, can give you. These 5 signs? They're like your personal roadmap for navigating your 80s with confidence. You're about to discover how your energy works differently, how your friendships reshape themselves, how your whole relationship with time gets deeper, how your memory and thinking actually adapt, not just fade. And finally, this one's a game changer, how this unexpected freedom just shows up. This isn't some sad story about decline. It's about transformation, real transformation. Life in your 80s is really about wisdom, being yourself, like truly yourself, and living authentically. If you've ever been scared about getting older, that last change we're going to talk about, it might just flip your whole perspective. All right, let's dive in. Change number 1, your energy and sleep. Do a complete 180, the first big shift you'll notice at 80. Your energy and sleep patterns completely change up on you. It's not just feeling tired more often, although yeah, that happens. It's more like your whole body starts running on a different schedule. And honestly, that schedule deserves your respect, not your resistance. A lot of folks at this age keep expecting to function exactly like they did at 60 or 70. When that doesn't happen, they freak out a little. Something's wrong with me. But here's the truth, nothing's wrong. Your body's just entered a different phase. Think of it like upgrading to a new operating system. It works differently, not worse. Your internal clock, scientists call it your circadian rhythm, starts shifting earlier. Like way earlier, suddenly 8 or 9 p.m. feels like the natural time to hit the hay. And mornings? You're popping awake at 5 or 6 a.m. like clockwork. Your best energy hits in the morning and early afternoon. But around 2 p.m., boom, this deeper dip arrives, stronger than anything you felt before. And you know what? That's not weakness. That's your body saying, hey, I need a break here. Nighttime sleep gets lighter too. You spend less time in those really deep sleep stages, which means you might wake up more often. But here's the kicker. That doesn't always mean you're sleeping badly. It's just different. And when you stop fighting it and just go with it, it actually works pretty well. Let me tell you about Lucille. She's 82, retired teacher. For years, she was anxious as hell because she couldn't stay awake past 9 p.m. She'd wake up before dawn and think something was seriously wrong with her. But once she learned this was totally normal for her age, she completely changed how she structured her day. Started doing her important stuff, reading, writing letters to friends, gentle exercises, in the morning when she felt sharp. Early afternoons became her social time, visiting with friends. And that 2 p.m. energy crash? She built in a quick 20-minute rest. You know what happened? Instead of making her weaker, this new rhythm gave her more energy. Better focus and honestly, more contentment than she'd had in years. The lesson here is crystal clear. At 80, your body isn't shutting down. It's fine-tuning itself. So how do you work with this change instead of against it? 3 practical steps. First, pay real attention to when you feel most energized and when you feel slowest. Just track it for a week. You'll see the patterns. Second, match your most important stuff to those energy peaks. Save the lighter, easier tasks for when you naturally feel slower. Third, Create a gentle but consistent bedtime routine that supports your earlier sleep schedule. Dim the lights earlier. Read instead of watching TV. Give your mind some quiet time before bed. All this stuff actually helps. The biggest shift here isn't even physical. It's mental. Once you accept that your rhythms are changing, you stop battling your own body. You start working with it instead, and that cooperation, it creates days that feel smoother, more productive, and way less stressful. You might actually find that instead of losing energy, you've got more vitality and purpose once you learn to ride this new wave your body's on. Change number 2. Your friend circle gets a major makeover. The second big shift at 80? Your relationships change up. Now, most people think this age is all about losing friends or feeling left out, like your social life just disappears. But the real truth is way more interesting than that. Your social world doesn't vanish. It transforms. It becomes more focused, more authentic, and honestly, often more rewarding than it's ever been. By the time you hit 80, superficial connections just fall away. You simply don't have the patience or energy anymore to maintain relationships that don't actually feed your soul. You know what I mean? Instead, you find yourself gravitating toward people who truly get you, the real ones. At this stage, big gatherings might feel less appealing. They get replaced by smaller, more intimate conversations. That friend you used to see every single week, they might fade from your life. But that person who was just kind of an acquaintance before, they might become one of your most trusted people. This isn't social decline. It's social optimization. Your emotional energy becomes precious, like seriously valuable, and your brain knows it. That's why you naturally invest more in connections that support you, uplift you, strengthen you. Eugene's story shows this beautifully. At 81, he got pretty discouraged when his longtime poker group fell apart. Members moved away. Some faced health problems. That dynamic that used to give him so much comfort, just gone. At first, he felt like his whole social identity had disappeared. Like, who was he without his poker buddies? But then he started volunteering at the library's literacy program. Everything changed. He found himself surrounded by people in their 70s and 80s who shared his values, his goals. Their conversations were rich, purposeful, full of encouragement. Eugene realized something important. Even though he'd lost one circle, he'd gained another one that fit his life now way better. He also discovered something he didn't expect. As his social focus narrowed, he gave more attention to his family. His adult kids noticed the difference. They responded with more connection, more gratitude, more honesty. Eugene's life didn't shrink. It deepened. If you're entering this stage, here are 4 keys to embracing it. 1. Let some friendships fade without feeling guilty about it. Not every relationship is meant to last forever, and that's okay. 2. Stay open to new connections with people who share your current interests, not just your history. 3. Put more energy into those relationships that leave you feeling understood and energized. You know which ones they are. 4. Stop trying to keep the same social pace you had in your 60s or 70s. At 80, quality beats quantity every single time. What you end up with is a social life that's less about keeping up appearances and way more about true companionship. A lot of people at 80 actually describe their friendships as more supportive, more honest, and more satisfying than ever before. You're not losing your social world. You're upgrading it into one that suits you better. Quick pause here. If you're still watching and finding this helpful, drop a comment with the number 2 below. Let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our videos. Your support really does help us keep creating content to inform and inspire you. All right, let's keep going. Change number 3. Your whole relationship with time gets flipped. The third major change at 80 isn't about your body or your friends. It's about your entire perception of time itself. This is honestly one of the most profound transformations of aging, and it quietly reshapes everything. About how you live your life, psychologists have a fancy term for it. They call it a shift in time perspective. But let me break it down in plain English. When you're younger, time feels endless, like you've got forever. So you spend it trying to meet other people's expectations, maintain appearances, chase goals that, if we're being honest, other people set for you. At 80, time feels both shorter and more precious. And that forces this beautiful clarity. You finally see what truly matters. And what doesn't. Your daily stamina might feel lower. Days might pass more quickly. But at the same time, you stop wasting hours on things that hold zero meaning for you. You care way less about what other people think, and way more about what brings you genuine fulfillment. This change isn't about running out of time. It's about finally understanding what time is actually for. Let me tell you Ruby's story. At 83, she'd been involved in her church for over 40 years, served on committees, organized events, fulfilled every single expectation of being the dependable one. But deep inside, she was exhausted. Those obligations felt more like duty than joy. One day, Ruby made a bold choice. She stepped away from her roles. Her family was surprised. Her community was surprised. But she started spending her mornings in her garden, hands in the soil, tending flowers and vegetables. She also volunteered one day a week at the community garden, teaching younger people the skills she'd developed over a lifetime. Her family worried at first. They thought she was isolating herself. But the truth? Ruby had never been more alive. She'd chosen time spent on passion over time spent on obligation. This is what happens at 80. That fear of missing out, FOMO, it just dissolves. It gets replaced by the joy of making deliberate choices. You say no more often, not because you're limited, but because you're wise. You say yes to the things that feed your soul. The shift is incredibly liberating because it removes all the noise. It lets you focus on meaning. The practical impact of this is remarkable. So many people at 80 describe feeling lighter, freer, more intentional with their days. They use time more wisely, not by cramming in more activity, but by making sure whatever they do actually matters to them. Researchers call this crystallized wisdom, the ability to see through all the distractions and recognize the essence of any situation. Want to embrace this fully? Here are a few strategies. First, take stock of your week. Identify which activities energize you versus which ones drain you. Be honest with yourself. Second, practice saying no without guilt to obligations that no longer serve you. This takes practice, but it gets easier. Third, lean into experiences and conversations you've been postponing. You finally understand that the time for them is now. Fourth, spend more of your hours on things that bring you joy and peace, even if other people might not view them as productive. This transformation often brings a whole new kind of fulfillment. Instead of rushing to keep up with everyone else, you start walking at your own pace, on your own path, with your own values guiding you. That freedom of time and clarity of purpose, it makes life at 80 more authentic than it's ever been. Change number 4. Your memory and thinking adapt in fascinating ways. The fourth change that shows up at 80 is one a lot of people fear. But it's not what most folks expect. Your brain does change, yes, but not in the simple everything declines way people assume. Instead, your mind reorganizes itself. It trades speed for depth, surface recall for wisdom, quick answers for meaningful insights. Short-term memory does become less reliable. You might walk into a room and forget why you went there. You might pause longer to remember a new person's name. Processing brand new information can feel slower, but something else starts growing stronger. Your ability to connect past experiences into patterns, to see meaning in situations, to draw on a lifetime of knowledge to make wise decisions. Carlton, an 84-year-old retired engineer, felt this shift big time. He used to be super sharp with technical details, could memorize specifications instantly. In his 80s, that ability faded. But when his adult son came to him with a complicated business problem, Carlton could see the underlying pattern almost immediately. Where his son's younger mind got stuck in all the data, Carlton's mind, slower on the surface, was faster at seeing the big picture. His decades of experience, woven into deep neural pathways, gave him an insight that raw processing speed just couldn't match. This is what your brain does at 80. It becomes a wisdom engine. Instead of racing to hold every new detail, it specializes in recognizing meaning, filtering what's truly important. This explains why older adults often excel at decisions involving judgment, perspective, or understanding human behavior, even if they can't recall a new fact as quickly as they once could. There are practical ways to work with this. A lot of older folks find it helpful to keep small notebooks, calendars, or phone reminders for day-to-day details. This frees up their mental energy for deeper thinking. Activities that tap into pattern recognition, strategy games, mentoring, problem-solving discussions. These stimulate the strengths your brain now favors. Learning still matters, but it works best when connected to what you already know. A completely foreign skill might feel frustrating, but expanding on existing knowledge, that keeps your mind engaged and sharp. The most important shift is in perspective. At 80, your mind hasn't weakened. It's specialized differently. You're less of a rapid recorder and more of a seasoned interpreter. You might misplace your glasses, sure, but you can often read people's intentions better than anyone else in the room. You may forget your new neighbor's name, but you can quickly sense whether they're trustworthy or kind. This cognitive adaptation is one of the hidden gifts of aging. You lose some surface speed, yes, but you gain profound insight. That wisdom, honed over decades, becomes the very strength you bring into your 80s. Another quick pause. If you're still watching and getting value from this, comment the number 4 below. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Hit that bell icon too so you don't miss future videos. Your support means everything and helps us keep creating content to inform and inspire. Now let's get to the final change. This one's powerful. Change number 5, you experience. This unexpected freedom and authenticity, the 5th change that comes with turning 80, is maybe the most surprising of all. It's not a decline. It's not a loss. It's a gain. And for many people, it becomes the most rewarding shift of their later years. You start experiencing this deep sense of freedom and authenticity, the ability to live as your truest self, without all the weight of expectations that shaped your earlier life. By this age, a lot of the pressures that used to dictate your choices, they've faded. You're not climbing career ladders anymore, not raising young children, not striving to meet society's definitions of success. Responsibilities that kept you tethered start to ease. And what's left is this rare kind of space, the chance to finally live according to your values, your rhythms, your joy. Constance's story is perfect here. She was 82 when she decided she was done being who everyone else thought she should be. For decades, she'd lived as the proper minister's wife, reserved, cautious, always putting duty above desire, but inside she had this love of color, art, bold expression. At 82, she gave herself permission to bring that side forward. She started painting these large, vibrant canvases, dressing in bright clothes, speaking her mind openly. And you know what happened? Instead of pushing people away, this newfound authenticity made her more alive, more engaging, even more beloved. Her grandchildren adored this freer version of Grandma. Her friends found her honesty refreshing. This is the essence of the transformation. At 80, you stop living for appearances. You start living for truth. You release obligations that don't matter. You discover joy in being fully yourself. You might surprise others with your choices, but often, those choices inspire people rather than shock them. Relationships become more real because there's no more pretense. You waste less energy trying to fit a mold. You use that energy instead to nurture genuine connections and pursuits. This authenticity also changes how you approach daily life. You might move to a place you've always dreamed of, start a hobby others thought was impractical, or simply organize your days around what feels meaningful rather than what looks sensible.